Hey guys, so today we're checking out the Barricade Rock Sliders fitting all 2020 and newer Gladiator JTs. So if you are in search of some extra protection to your very vulnerable pinch weld area and you're also looking for a little bit of accessibility in and out of your truck, then this is going to be a great choice to take a look into. Now these are going to provide a lot of protection again to that very vulnerable pinch weld area on your truck, which is going to be great for anybody who's looking to take their Gladiator off-road and wants that protection there, especially for that breakover angle. Now these are going to be made of a heavy duty steel tube construction. They are going to tuck up pretty high and tight to that rocker area. What I do like is that you can either mount them flat or you can mount them angled up like I have here. That's going to provide the best protection to whenever you get onto an obstacle. If you do hit an obstacle, you can slide right off of it. Now what I also do like is the fact that this is not only going to act as a rock slider, but this is going to have a pretty solid surface up on top where you can step on it and have it act as a side step as well. So if you have a lifted Gladiator, this is going to be a great choice if you're looking for that equal balance of protection as well as accessibility. Not to mention, it is going to provide a pretty off-road look considering that this is going to have a texture black powder coat finish on top, and of course it's going to protect that steel underneath. Now as far as pricing is concerned, this is going to come in at roughly $450, and in my personal opinion, I think that this is going to be well worth the money. Now again, you are getting equal parts of protection and accessibility when it comes to these rock sliders, and again, you can mount them really in any position that you'd like, again angled up to protect some of the upper body, or flat if you're looking for more accessibility. I like the fact that it gives you a little bit of a choice there. Now some other options that may be less expensive may be a little bit more basic and focused on mainly accessibility, so they may be for smaller side steps and not have a lot of protection. And then on the other hand, some more expensive options are usually going to come with some extra bells and whistles, so they may require modification up on the top for a lot of protection to that rocker area, or they may have a removable step and so on. So it kind of comes down to your personal preference and what you want your Jeep to look like on the side, and also what your application is. So I personally, again, think this is great for somebody who's doing some off-roading, but also is looking for an extra boost up into their Gladiator. Now when it comes to install, this is going to be incredibly easy to install. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you no longer than an hour to get the job done in your driveway with some very basic hand tools. So speaking of the install, let's jump into that now. The tools that I used for my install were an impact wrench, a 3/8" drive ratchet, a 17 and 10 millimeter wrench, a 16, 13, and 10 millimeter socket. So to kick off this install, we're going to install our brackets first. Now we're going to have 2 brackets, and they are going to be side specific as well as placement specific. So we're going to have a pinch weld bracket as well as a body bracket, and this is laid out passenger side front, passenger side center, passenger side rear. You're also going to want to have your hardware on hand. We're going to do this first, and then we'll mount up our rock slider. So we're going to start with the body mount. And I'm going to take the longer provided hardware, lock washer and flat washer. I'm going to thread that in. Now this is an elongated hole, so I'm not going to tighten anything up until we get the rock slider on and positioned where we want it. But I am going to snug everything up just to make sure that it is tight enough to hold that rock slider. So for the time being, I'm just going to hand tighten that up towards the front. Then we can grab our pinch weld bracket, and this is going to sit in here and mate up with the body bracket. So we're going to take our pinch weld bolts, which is the smaller bolt with the 2 flat washers and a nylon lock nut. And we can put that through and secure that down. Now these holes are all going to be elongated, and this is really going to come down to the positioning of the rock slider once we have it on here. So again, we're not going to tighten anything up because we want to make sure that everything fits correctly. So the pinch weld is going to get 2 bolts. That's going to keep it level. And then once we have our rock slider this is going to line up with the rock slider, and we're gonna use a bolt to tighten it down here, and then we're gonna use a second one up here. But for the time being, we're gonna repeat that process for the other two mounts. So now that those two bolts are in, just like the top, what I'm gonna do is snug them up. So I'm gonna use a 10mm socket and a 10mm wrench. This is just gonna make sure that the bracket stays level with our top bracket here. So once we are mounting up the rock slider, this isn't moving around and making it more difficult for us. So again, we're not gonna tighten it up, but we are gonna snug it up to make sure it's not moving around a bunch. Still want a little bit of adjustability. So now that has less movement, what we can do is repeat that process for the two other mounts. Next, we can do the same thing for the passenger side center. I would like to mention that the Gladiator does have 4 body mount locations. There are gonna be 2 center mounting locations. We're gonna be utilizing the center mounting location that's located towards the front. So you're gonna have the front mount, the front center mount, we're gonna skip a mount, and then we're gonna do the rear mount. So this is the front center mount, and we're gonna repeat that same process. So at this point, what we can do is mount up our rock slider. I'm gonna be doing this by myself. However, you can do this with a friend to make it a little bit easier. We're gonna use the larger bolts, the 2 flat washers and nylon lock nuts for the main part of the bracket. So I'm gonna be starting in the center since I'm doing this alone. And essentially what we wanna do is just line it up. We're gonna line it up on the bracket, send our bolt through, secure it down on the other side. So then we can do the same thing for the other mounts. So now that the rock slider is mounted up, what we can do is start to tighten everything down. I recommend, if you are doing this by yourself, to put your knee underneath the rock slider to support it up in the position that you want it in. If not, you can have a friend hold it to where you want it to sit, and then we can start by tightening up the bolts that we just installed using a 17mm wrench and a 16mm socket. Next, we can tighten up the body bolt using a 13mm socket. This is gonna be the one that we installed first. And then last but not least, we can make sure that those pinch weld bolts are tight with a 10mm socket and 10mm wrench. And then we can repeat that for the other two mounts. So after everything is tightened up on this side, what you can do is repeat that process on the other side. So that's gonna wrap it up for my review and install. Make sure you like and subscribe for more videos and products just like this, and always keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.